Hello and welcome to the second grade trimester 1 lesson 3 video. So in this lesson it will be after you have listened to the students' ideas from the initial engagement activity, developed this big idea from this first negotiation, and now you're going to have the students come up with a question to investigate. So back up here. So one idea that we came up with was we wanted to keep this local, and we have a great opportunity with some of the landforms that the Cedar River has created around Waterloo. So you would start out with a prompt to your students of just asking them, well, how do you think water has changed the land around Waterloo? You might not start with that, but you would just kind of talk like, well, what water do you know is around where we live? And then hopefully somebody in your class will talk about the river. And then you could bring that back to the big idea in what you've talked about already in the lesson and just say something like, do you think those changes to the river has happened very quickly or happened very slowly? And you might get a variety of responses. Hopefully some of them would say it takes a long time, but then it could also be, a flood could happen and cause some changes very quickly. So you're going to want to say something to your students like, well, we can't really go to the river and test the river. So what if we made a model of the river and, see what happens in our little model? And, you're kind of giving them the question, but you're still going to ask them to think about how we would set this up and how we would design this. And that's a really important part of teaching science in the next generation science standards, is having students or providing that opportunity for students to try to think of like, okay, how could we set up a model? How could we test this? Things like that. So if you have them, and it was a question if they were going to be available or not, but if you have the water tables, that would be great here. If not, if you just had a tote tray and put some sand in there, and you just said something to the students like, okay, here are the materials we have. Let's design a model. How are we going to do that? And you're just going to have a conversation with them. Let me pull up So, our question is going to be something along the line of, how does a river change the land around an area? This is an area where they can draw pictures to kind of set up their design. And then the rest of this lesson is going to be kind of fleshing out your ideas. So you're going to want to talk about, well, if we run this multiple times, or if other classes are running it, we're going to want to have put the water in the same place. We're going to want to get a little tube of water to pour it in, or you could do a small cup to pour onto the sand. There's a lot of different options for how you could get the water to flow. You're going to want to talk about lifting the tray up at an angle so the water actually flows. So that would be an important thing to kind of bring up, and any other small things for setting up this investigation.